Plenty of League of Legends to be had, and the question becomes, is Apex going to be enough of a change here in the mid lane to possibly, you know, shift the tides when it comes to this series?
Exactly, and again, it is going to be in the middle of the series and the end of the split, basically for Apex to swap in for Uniboy. And again, looking at his champion pool, it's definitely a little bit of mix here and there when it comes to the mages can also play maybe the Renekton, the occasional Sylas, and maybe sometimes even the Ziggs, which is quite unique for Apex, I suppose. But we'll have to see whether or not AHQ, how this Apex suddenly entering into this roster will affect this match against Talon.
I'm interested, though, whether or not we are going to see an Azir ban, as both of these mid laners actually highly contest the pick, especially last year. Apex, I believe it was his third most played when it came to the regular season. Is, though, going to be able to make it through, as the Senna was banned out alongside the Aphelios actually coming out from Talon. So no Aphelios being picked here for the second game, but does mean the Misfortune is left up and available, and the Kalista too, if Talon wish to take that over.
We'll have to see, because Talon did really favor the Kalista Taric combo, which can be picked in this rotation if they decide to get that, but instead it's going to be the usual coming from River on this turnip. They do actually lock this in. Yeah, you're right. HQ though, Zoe is still open, I was about to say, but it seems to me they do want to deny that as well. So what are your options, as Syndra and LeBlanc are already banned as well?
Well, it's going to be Zoe getting locked in here for Candy in the mid lane. Been a little while since we've actually been able to see that come out and be played. Here for AHQ, what do they want to try and lock in, though? We saw that the Trundle was hover. They may take it themselves, or do we get to see, you know, Kongi on something a little bit more aggressive? Do we get to see him bring out, say, the Lee Sin? And that looks like it's going to be the answer here as it gets locked in.
I wonder if this is the time where River gets to pull up the... Okay, I'm not gonna be happy about that pick just yet, until it gets locked in. But yeah, maybe we could see the Rek'Sai. Yeah, I would love to see it though, but it seems it's going to be a little bit different. Cassiopeia definitely makes more sense. But yeah, it will be the common matchup perhaps if it's going to be, you know, the Lee Sin versus Rek'Sai matchup. But Ornn works well with Ziv too on top side.
Now, this does mean, though, the Ornn is, like, you are kind of in a situation where you could possibly see the Kalista top come out again, where it's being already shown, and Talon have the opportunity to counterpick. I don't know if Hanabi has it in his champion pool just yet, but we have also seen that teams are willing to, you know, flex the Ornn wherever it needs to go to avoid that matchup. So whether or not that actually is going to be the case, we'll still have to see as we head into our second round of bans. The Trundle, though, did get locked in here for River on their final rotation of their first pick, so lost priority for the Troll.
Yeah, and just as you mentioned, it was Hanabi who did play the Quinn last time to get that matchup at top side, so there's definitely a lot of swaps that can potentially happen. We have seen Kalista in the mid lane before, but you know, Zoe has already been picked up. And now the question is for AHQ, do you want to take out the Thresh? Do you want to take out the engage supports at least to take it away from Talon, since again, in terms of engage, there's not a lot of options just yet.
So we'll see if that plan is what's going to go through here, as the Gangplank also being banned out. And, you know, they even said during the trash talk that, you know, maybe we just have to ban out Hanabi's GP. Maybe we don't have to worry about him. There is still, like, that Renekton being open, so we'll see, as a couple of unique bans actually coming out from the mid lane, as they don't want to see the Cassiopeia or even the Malzahar into this zone.
Yeah, looks like there's a lot of signature picks coming from Apex, and yep, there you go, a respect ban against Kaiwing. No one's gonna get the Thresh, but the Nautilus is actually open as well. It's a really good pair when you get that towards the Kalista with the Fate's Call into the hook and everything else, but it seems to me Hanabi is gonna be in this Aatrox.
Interesting that they show the Aatrox immediately. They wanted to try and, I guess, maybe take that away from Ziv if they did want to maybe flex this Ornn elsewhere. But we did mention the Azir could be a contested pick between the two mid laners, as Apex played it a decent amount last year. It is going to be his first showing here in the PCS, as it does get locked in.
And it just leaves a lot of room for any sort of outplay as well with the Emperor's Divide. I'm just looking forward to see how Apex performs in the PCS in general. And this is a really good takeaway. Perhaps Talon would like to secure maybe a Leona on their side as well, to fully compensate the fact that there's not a lot of Engage to work with, except maybe if you're looking forward to maybe a Taric actually is open. Maybe Talon can actually pick that up as well.
Yeah, we mentioned that they did favor to go into this Kalista Taric combo before, so it is available if Kaiwing wishes to play it, and if that is the plan, then they can bring down the invincibility for the squad and try and go for these all-ins. But I gotta argue, you know, AHQ, they have themselves a pretty lethal team fight composition where you're gonna have this Call of the Forge God into a bullet time and then clean up from the Azir.
Yeah, AoE-wise, AHQ has definitely won this one in terms of composition. Considering that this is exactly the matchup that we saw where Talon lost during the first game of that BO5. It was a Misfortune versus Kalista, unable to provide any sort of impact in terms of damage at the first 2 Rift Heralds and even at the first 2 Dragon takes. So we could see a potential mirror. So now Candy has to make this Zoe work to compensate for how how shaky Kalista is in the early team fights.
Yeah, they're going to be waiting on, you know, of course, that 2 items that you're going to be waiting for the Kalista, mainly your Runans, and likely see the Bork also come out, depending on how Unified wishes to build this. But for AHQ, it is a reminder that we are in a best-of-5. Winner here will face Machi tomorrow in our grand finals. AHQ are looking to at least tie up this series 1-1. Talon, they looked very decisive when they found their openings in Game 1, and I want to see whether or not, you know, Apex is enough of a change here for AHQ to try and shift around the mentality when it comes to the Game 2 here, as we'll see what AHQ can do as we're going to go ahead and load on the Rift for, again, Game 2.
This is going to be hella exciting because, again, just as you mentioned, it's going to be a new subbed in mid laner. And we brought up earlier, it's not going to be the usual Uniboy Kongya duo anymore. But this is going to be completely new, but definitely no stranger, as these teams have already faced against each other before.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
And Civ already doing dances. What is different? Nothing. At least they got themselves a good, you know, mentality possibly coming out of that first game. Maybe they're having some jokes. We'll have to see. It is a gauntlet today, which I know a lot of teams at the moment. This was part of the disadvantage if you went down into the lower bracket. You had to play a lot of games back to back if you wanted to get back into the grand final, and there was a realm where AHQ weren't even in this match. They were very close to getting eliminated by Alpha Esports in the previous round, where it came down to Alpha actually throwing away the Game 3 where they had advantage overall. And I think for AHQ, they've been counting some of their stars. They even mentioned during some of the videos before that they were already, you know, thinking about finals before they got knocked down into the lower bracket.
Yeah, I think HKA was the one that mentioned as well that they looked a little bit shaky based on their playoff performances. And again, for AHQ, they have been home of like rosters of doing really, really well during the group stages, during the regular season, but eventually cannot maintain that momentum when it comes to either playoffs.
Yeah, they can't seem to keep their composure, and it's hurt them quite a bit. River, though, looking for a cheeky invade here onto Kongya, trying to force him back. The Trundle, bit scary at times if you're not too careful here, as Kongya is still going to try and at least contest this, it seems. I think that's just going to reset here the way this is going. You even see Rivers playing with his food at this point, and Kongya's like, am I going to get any help? I don't think you really can. You don't really have much support that's going to come out here, and Kongya's going to have to give this one up.
Yeah, it's going to be a concede coming from Kongya. Actually, he changes his mind, see whether or not he's just going to go for the Wolves instead.
That's a lot being committed here for this blue buff. They're able to take it away. I guess successful invade, question mark. River might be able to get a tree buff, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be a 3-buff start for River, and managing to slow down Kongya a little bit. Not able to get level 3 immediately on his first rotation on his top side, I believe. But now it is River going back, and we'll have to see whether or not Kongye can steal and make it even.
Oh, Rivers set this up already. A surprise, it's the troll. Kongyu now has to back off here. He's going to get slowed, and the press of the attack is whacking away him. He's going to flash forward for the kill. Is he going to be able to finish him off? No. It gets the flash out of Kongyu, and that is River being very aggressive on this Trundle.
This is a totally different Talon. It's like their movements seem to be, they've managed to figure out AHQ. And you can see the emotes a little bit. You can see how he moves back to his blue, seeing, okay, Kongye would most likely try and attempt to steal. And it worked out in their favor. It's a flash gone for Kongye, and as well as for River at least. But Kongye's pathing has been thrown about because of River's constant pestering in his own jungle.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. That's also, I gotta contribute a little bit of possibly scouting coming out from Big Fafa, you know, kind of getting that, hey, you guys can maybe try and go aggressive in that early levels to try, you know, catch out Kongye, try and get him off balance early in this match, because we have seen that work against AHQ during the regular season, and this now puts Kongye in a little bit of an awkward situation, as this is kind of the first time we've seen him already falling behind in CS.
Yeah, and I think it was definitely one of those instances where Talon has managed to, you know, 2-0 AHQ, and we've seen other teams take advantage of this weakness as well. Like Nova, perhaps, where Ryan would constantly go towards Kongye's jungle, and it was definitely, it really paid off after that, as that was an upset. But now we can see that River is starting towards his Raptors right now, as Kongye is trying to match the rotation as well, but just as you mentioned, he's already behind a little bit on the CS department.
See Ziv able to get a nice little knock up there onto Hanabi. He just wants to try and force in that wave, but he's already starting to fall a little bit behind when it comes to the CS game, as Ziv is also starting to run a bit out of mana. Not a whole lot of support coming out from both sides of the jungle as they were occupied with each other. Other than that, quick skirmish though in the trade of summoners. It's been a rather quiet early start here with the fact that the junglers have been fighting with each other.
Yeah, and now that you brought that up, when it comes to topside, mainly for Hanabi, he always is the type that can handle his own whatever pick he decides to bring. And this gives room for River to roam around with either Kaiwing, make moves. Oh, they're doing it again.
They just want to try and at least force pressure.
That's the plan. It has been, especially when Talon is on red side, they like to do this heavy dive into, or rather heavy roam towards the enemy jungle to either do ward or plant a lot of deep wards to track Kongye here on this Lee Sin. And it has been working well, considering, again, they've done this before in their 2-0 during the regular season against AHQ. So this is definitely one of those copy pasta things that has proven successful, as Kongye is going to make his way in for a lane get.
Here if he wants to try and go for this. Has been able to path his way into the third brush there in behind his bot lane, but unfortunately that bot lane's already pushed up, and Candy might be looking for a roam here, as he has level 6, has bubble available, and also has that fresh heal. If the side of Talon wants to get very aggressive, instead just going to go ahead and get the fruit. Get himself a little bit of mana, still has that one stat on his corrupting pot. He'll just back off and go back to lane.
Yeah, a ton of biscuits to work with as well, to add into the sustain against Apex here. But yeah, once level 6 comes, most likely with the help of, with River, I suppose. I guess that's where the action is going to start. Considering Dragon is already live, and for HQ they do have priority over the spot side. Kongye, definitely not yet as comfy to take this one and get that first hit on that Dragon area.
River's just going to go ahead and path on over. A little bit late for the scuttle, as it was already taken there by Kongye. Hanabi's just going to continue pushing in this top lane best as he can. Rift Herald will be spawning in about 30 seconds. So we'll see if Talon really want to exert pressure, especially with the fact that off spawn they are actually going to go for this blue buff once again. Try and deny that one away from Apex in particular, as Kongye can't really do anything here.
Yeah, and at this point, River is going to deny a blue buff away from Apex as well, and even going to give it to Candy. So that's a lot of value. Let's see whether or not, what is the decision here, as Kongye will trade Dragon for that blue buff.
Rift Herald is going to be spawning here shortly. Hanabi also has teleport available. Pings are coming out. They know that that dragon is being started, as River's just going to instantly say, all right, well, if that's the case, we're going to go ahead and take this Rift Herald.
And that's a pretty good deal, if you ask me, considering you can convert those plates into fueling. Who do you want to grow exponentially? Well, I wouldn't say exponentially. Who you would want to boost, rather. And that could possibly be mid lane for Candy, or maybe even towards Hanabi, who has been performing really well, especially during the first series on the Renekton.
We just talked that River is living in the jungle right now of Kongya. Continually, this top side has been completely taken, and unfortunately there for Kongya, he hasn't been able to really do much to try and answer other than that Drake, because the jungle was already taken there by River. Let's see if River decides to stay around. It's going to be called a Board God just being used to clear out the wave, as Civ is underneath this tower, can't really get anywhere safe, as Hanabi is able to get a nice trade there. River wants to come in, they want to try and go for this dive. We'll see how it works out here. Is Civ waiting for some cooldowns, able to get the flash off. Hanabi though continues on forward, and they're able to find first blood as River, tanking up the tower shots, is able to keep Hanabi alive.
Nice tower juggle, and that is the decision. They've got a kill for Hanabi, 1, and a lot of plates being funneled, I suppose, towards Hanabi here. And actually a little bit for River, but that is going to be all according to plan for River and Hanabi here. And in the meantime, you have to ask, what did Kongya get in exchange out of all of that, since River has been practically living at topside?
Yeah, because unfortunately they've only been able to get really that dragon. It's only a single infernal. It's not like you're looking to stack up toward possibly a mountain or an ocean soul during the course of this game just yet. And unfortunately, that also drew so much attention that Kongya tried to at least come up towards topside, at least prevent the tower from going down. That allows River to get a free back over, and he can clear out his bot side jungle if he wishes.
And it's just definitely the perfect formula. But good news though, Kongya has managed to at least catch up in terms of CS, as again, River has been practically everywhere, and I feel like this blue buff, as actually Smite is available for River, but he's still clearing out the wolves, so I guess that is going to be an exchange, I suppose, as there's not a lot of priority for Candy to work with, since Apex has been constantly pressuring Candy in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's been kind of up to Candy if he wants to maybe even try and get a kill, but unfortunately Apex has been, you know, he's Azir. He can play back safe. He can give up a wave or two, and it's not the end of the world, as he can just stay back here. All that lead currently sits pretty much on top of Hanabi at this point. It's going to be onto his Aatrox, so putting a lot of eggs in his basket to try and carry the later part of this game, at least to try and get the other lanes ahead once he has the opportunity to leave this top lane. You saw Apex there getting exhausted by Candy, as Candy was looking for a possible kill. Does have Ignite. Apex isn't careful.
Yeah, Candy has still a lot of mana to work with. We've got Candy trying to circle around. Here comes the rest of the squad from Talon with the usual Kaiwing and River Roam. I don't think they can make anything happen, as Apex will safely port back to lane. But again, this gives room for Talon to just install a lot of deep vision on AHQ's jungle.
Kongya now just has to pretty much stay in mid lane to try and soak up the minions while he can, but Candy's going to get himself a turret plate for his trouble. Get a little extra gold, and he'll be able to soon complete his loot-ins, as currently sitting on that 1,200 gold mark.
And that's definitely one of the scary parts for a Zoe, as can poke effectively, and as well as stay in lane a little bit more with the regen. But now that we see Talon being a little bit more reserved in their movement, making sure that Unified has a comfortable lane, while balancing that Kaiwing can still roam a little bit with River here on their early game. And that we'll have to see, as the next dragon is going to spawn, and still no Bork completed just yet for Unified, but Ludens is already completed for Candy.
Yo, Apex is going to be at least able to take down one of these turret plates, maybe able to get two here as River's coming on by. Force Apex to have to back off. A lot of pressure coming out from AHQ on toward the bot side of the map, though. Lots of vision being established, and River, if he's not careful, will get caught out here, as maybe realizing that there could be other members of the side of AHQ. Wako acting as the bait. That's going to be the teleport coming out from both top lanes. The stun is going to land, and Kaiwing ends up popping his ultimate. The entire squad of Talon now invulnerable, and they're able to find their first kill. Sid trying to at least turn this one back, but doesn't pull the ultimate just yet. The flash coming out from Candy, looking to keep on hunting down. Not going to be able to find it, though, as Talon are able to find the lone kill off this Nautilus and then turn back toward the Dragon.
That was actually pretty interesting, considering they used Wako as bait and having to consume all summoner spells too, with Asera having to fall. It's going to be a little bit tricky because CC wise it's also quite similar how you try to chain them. You have maybe the pillar to start things off for that itty bitty slow, then you get Kaiwing's Dazzle, and it works really well, especially against squishy targets, especially now actually.
Wako here was, again, a little bit out of place. Kaiwing actually got a really good stun off, and the rest of Talon aren't really having any of it. They're like, let's just take down the Nautilus first. And that's kind of one of the first times we've seen Wako get really caught out of position during an early team fight.
Yeah, actually standing pretty close, considering that bot lane of Talon wasn't actually seen just yet, so they could probably form maybe a pincer attack or maybe just try to sandwich them over at River. But now for AHQ, at least they managed to get a huge chunk towards this tower, and it will definitely fall during the next possible team fight near that dragon.
We see River. It's going to go ahead, path his way over to this Rift Herald once again. Candy will also be able to get a decent little push here in the mid lane, so he can try and, again, assist. It looks like the trade is going to be first tower in favor of AHQ. It does bring the gold back within 1,000, but River should be able to secure the second Rift Herald with pretty much no contest coming out from the side of AHQ.
And this has been a trend from the side of both of these teams when they come face to face with each other. And normally, AHQ would like to try and contest through a 5v5 during possibly Dragon takes or maybe even Rift Herald takes. So this is a completely different dynamic or a completely different scenario that I'm seeing. Considering, I suppose it's because Talon got an early edge with Hanabi in that kill, and as well as early gold with the plates. That's possibly why AHQ is a little bit reserved.
See there, Hanabi able to get himself to safety with the blast cone. As AHQ were looking to try and answer, actually bring 4 members of their squad over on toward the top side of the map, but unfortunately not able to really get much else there, and Talon are able to retain this 2,000 gold lead as we just hit 16 minutes in game 2.
Yeah, 2 kills on the board already for Talon. Bork already completed for Unified. Sork Boots in addition to Candy's first item as well. So that's a really good burst once you have a full combo coming from Candy later on. We still haven't really seen any of the killer bubbles just yet, but it was enough to sort of scare Apex away from time to time.
Fishing there with the Pal Star, not able to get any damage. 2 minutes left until we get ourselves a Cloud Drake. We'll see whether or not AHQ want to try and go for that. Is Candy looking for a sneaky stun there? Rift Herald also going to be popped here, so Talon forcing 5 members. Hanabi maybe looking for a flank. He is on top of a ward, so they do know he's there. So there you go. Rift Herald able to take down the second tier tower, actually first tier here in mid. Get some gold, and nice little catch there on Kaiwing, but unfortunately you don't really want to catch out the support as the Tark is able to soak up the damage. Sarah able to get himself to safety, but the Ren stacks are going to be there. Emperor's Divide, though, coming out from Apex underneath the tower, able to help turn around a little bit of the fight. Hanabi very down, very low. Civ flashing forward, able to secure the kill. Unified was sidetracked, trying to take down the Nautilus and was able to find it. Bubble does land onto Apex, so that's going to force out at least the cleanse. And it's going to be, in the end, a 2-for-1 with an extra tower going in favor of Talon.
That was Talon just trying to bulldoze their way towards a victorious team fight, but unfortunately, you get in range to these scary outplays that Apex could put on you. I thought that was going to hit But yeah, that's a really nice Emperor's Divide to just scare off or get a few exchanges coming from River and Hanabi, forcing the backline to just concede and be satisfied with getting at least a tower and 2 kills.
Yeah, for Talon, it's the time to fight is now, but unfortunately, you gotta be careful. You don't want to be committing too hard underneath the tower. It's not like the Aatrox has the revive anymore, and it all starts with this hook actually from Ysera, where he feels confident enough, but then he acts pretty much as the decoy for the rest of the squad, and Talon seem a little bit disconnected on what they want to aim.
Yeah, and I think the aim was for Hanabi to distract the backline as they wanted to push forward with Ysera. So that was the plan. Unfortunately, yep, they were too close. They committed too much, and I think that is what Talon should be careful. If they keep repeating these aggressive plays, they have to make sure that there's no exchange whatsoever, considering that perhaps later on, bounties are going to be building up, and that's definitely going to help out Wacko and Apex to sort of equalize the gold lead when it comes to, you know, this point of the game.
Well, it's going to be a trade of towers. One in the top lane for AHQ, one in the bot lane here for Talon. Possibly, Civ might be actually able to interrupt this if Unified isn't careful. Meanwhile, Dragon is also being taken. River's on top of Ward. That's why you see Kongo being as aggressive as he is on the top side of the map. So it's going to be second Dragon in favor of Talon. Get a little bit extra cooldown reduction on their ultimate as Unified continues to pressure in. Look at this though, multiple members coming on over from both squads as River wants to just fully take down this tower. We'll be able to, so get a little bit more gold onto this Kalista.
Yeah, the illusion, I suppose. But they do have information where the rest of the members are. Some are on mid, maybe even coming from top. But they didn't really want to commit just yet to try and dive. Since Horn will be a little bit difficult to execute at that time. But yeah, it seems to be going well for Talon. AHQ, though, doing a good job trying to equalize their losses still and keep up with the gold.
Yeah, because we haven't really seen Talon really excel anything with this gold lead. And if you take a look, we're going to start closing in onto those ornaments that will start coming through for free, as it's going to be level 13 here in a short sec for Ziv as he's finished off his 2 items. He can then start looking to upgrade some of his carry items, maybe to get Wacko his Molten Edge once it comes online, which should be soon. He's getting closer to that 8,000 gold mark, and that's well, at least most of the components completed. AHQ are kind of just in the bit of this waiting game. You want to see whether or not this Misfortune can scale alongside the Azir, and then you can take these team fights in your favor. Whereas Talon are going to be opting to see whether or not they can find picks with Candy during these team fights.
Yeah, I feel like the combo for AHQ is definitely set up for an Emperor's Divide into a bullet time, or perhaps even start with the Horn with Ziv. And it could go either way because they have a ton of reliable CC to work with. For Talon, in the meantime, they can try to time the Taric ult to just try to bait out a couple of ultimates coming from AHQ. And with that said, River can actually easily cancel out the bullet time as well with possibly either a Dazzle from Kaiwing or maybe even a Pillar that we see time and time again that is that nice counter against this Misfortune.
So see, Talon just looks to back off. They got a little bit of ward coverage down, but it's going to get cleared out immediately as Baron has joined us. 2.5 minutes until we see our next Elemental Drake, our second Cloud Drake of the game. Unified and Wacko going to play ping pong here in mid lane. Unified actually finished off his Runads. Wacko should be able to finish off his Infinity Edge on the next back. That's what they're going to be looking for. He's just waiting on a little bit extra gold. And that's 2 upgrades now for Ziv, as he's upgraded both his Iceborn as well as his Sunfire.
Yeah, primed and ready to see whether or not he can be in front of Unified's face to just try and bother him, or possibly even Hanabi, or maybe even River. So at this point, he is going to get a little bit tanky, but not a lot on the, you know, magic side of things. So Candy will definitely have a party for River, though. He does have that subjugate to try and soften up a couple of the tanky members coming from AHQ. So it does check out for Talon at least.
Senior, Talon, they know where AHQ are, but both teams a little bit hesitant. Their AHQ were waiting for Apex to make his way down the river. So they're not going to pull the trigger on the fight just yet. Hanabi's down in the bot lane, just trying to push while he can. Teleports are available for both top laners, but Civ is actually already here as Candy's just going to go into a split lane push on the Zoe while he can and just clear out what he can.
Yeah, and it's gonna be another reset for both of these teams, and it's all about farming it up. For Talon, they have the lead, so they kind of don't want to lose the lead, so they're just gonna be waiting for more of these team fights, and we'll have to see, because 50 seconds on the clock, more or less, for the next dragon to spawn.
Well, I'd argue that the team fight, I feel like AHQ are going to feel comfortable. You now have your Infinity Edge completed for the Misfortune, which, again, now the ultimate's going to be doing some decent crit damage. You got Civ with 2 items. He's going to be able to pop that Call of the Forge God, just looking to interrupt him. If Apex is untouched, AHQ should be able to take these team fights. It's going to be up to Kylo to get a really good Targ ultimate over River and Candy to find picks while they can, because honestly, I don't think Talon can try and force down the door anymore.
Yeah, and considering that as the game progresses, damage will come in as fast as any of the Taric ult will kick in. So at this point, they may have to be a little bit of 50-50 once they have initiated that plan. Dragon is about to spawn in 5 seconds, and right now, Talon has in control of the map.
There we go. Talon are going to be the ones to start up this Dragon, looking for their 3rd Dragon of the game. A nice chunk of damage onto Civ, and they actually were able to sleep Ysera, so that's going to be a little bit of a late Nautilus to this fight, because Civ want to try and go for this play. Dragon is secured on the side of Talon. Starting to go into a little bit of choke point. Calling you, though, is going to get caught out here by the bubble. Flash Forward coming out from Kaiwing, maybe a little bit too aggressive. River on the front line. It is going to be the Targ ultimate coming on through. Apex, though, still able to get a decent chunk of damage. They're not able to get on top of the Misfortune, nor the Azir, but Apex still can't do enough here as Hanabi now gets brought back underneath his tower. I don't think you want to bring him underneath, closer to your carry. Shutdown does go on over to the Misfortune, but they're able to find another kill as Kong is taken down, and it's going to be a 3-for-1 as Talon start pushing in onto the 2nd tier tower.
That was wild, and it was definitely Talon having to risk a couple of flashes and dazzles actually that did not connect, but it worked out still in the end. And with that, that's 3 members down, Kongye gone. That means that is the goal signal for Talon to take this Baron, especially Candy being the distraction actually for AHQ.
Now we see as, guess what, Talon, they're very aware that Apex is going for this. Apex, are you sure you want to try and go for this at this point? He's able to get a decent amount of damage. Guess what, Candy can just try and act as the decoy, because meanwhile, guess what? Baron was being taken, and it's 1 kill for Baron in favor of Talon. Unified's going to be able to smite this one down. That's a teleport. That's double teleport from both sides of the map. It's going to be Apex getting here a little bit late, and Talon, if they want to try and take this fight, they need to end it quick and fast. Apex is on the hunt. They're able to take down Waco. Is it going to be enough, though? Emperor's Divide is there, and now Talon maybe caught out a little bit too much as they could. Kaiwing trying to do his best, but Unified was already taken down, and Talon start throwing away the game just like this. River trying to get what he can and try and escape with at least 1 Baron buff. Ysera still hunt him and down. He's going to get the dredge line, able to get the stun again, and River is taken down. AHQ, they're able to wipe the map clean of the Baron.
Whoa, Talon's in trouble, and for AHQ, they will definitely be satisfied with that, considering that we saw Candy be the distraction. You can see the dazzle. It didn't exactly connect as expected, but with that said, it still worked out as Talon is able to time the Taric ult properly. Bullet time didn't actually hit as much as expected, and Hanabi just kept getting the resets. Unfortunately, he had to eat a lot of tower hits and he had to fall. And that's the reason why Hanabi was not present at all during that Baron take. And as much as Candy tried his best to be a distraction, it still wasn't enough, as the timers were just perfect for the rest of AHQ to still collapse onto that Baron take.
Yeah, maybe, you know, Candy needed to delay a little bit longer. I get the idea here from Talon, but if they're not able to blow up the Baron in time, they, you know, it kind of turns from a 100 IQ play to like a 2000 IQ play to a 100 IQ play. Unfortunately, the team just wasn't able to really take a fight. They should have maybe looked for a disengage at this point.
Yeah, and with that said, there's a lot of takedowns, actually. There's a lot of shutdown gold being cashed in by the side of AHQ. And not only that, there's no one that managed to survive to even get the Baron buff alive. And with that said, again, Apex has been really, really good with the Emperor Divides. And unfortunately for River, he's not able to even survive this one as well.
With River down, that was all 5 members of Talon taken out, and with that, no Baron buff remains for their squad. And AHQ maintain this gold difference now of about 2,000. There's going to be a Cloud Soul on the table for Talon if they really want to go for it in about a minute. I think, though, they've started to realize that their team fight safety isn't as much as they thought it was, as Waco's now got himself that Molten Edge completed. Apex has come online. He's currently 4-0-2 on the Zazir. If he's untouched during these fights, it's a major problem for Talon, and it requires Kaiwing to have a spectacular Tark ultimate to keep the team alive.
Yeah, and for Candy, there's a lot of pressure to make these paddle stars count. This is going to be Hanabi coming from a different side. Whoop. No hook. Okay, I was a little bit worried there, but yeah, Apex with Banshees can really help deny the burst. Now they're at opposite ends of the map.
Yeah, both teams now on opposite sides. Both seem not to like their own base. I do like AHQ. They're just looking to try and cut the minion wave, so Talon can't really go for a inside push through mid to try and take down that tower. Candy does have teleport, so he is backing, but he will have that available to try and join in onto this ensuing fight. We'll see, though. Talon have themselves the side of AHQ, and AHQ have the side of Talon here as Dragon will be started. River starting to path in. A decent amount of damage on Sarah, but the Dragon's already taken down there. In comes the Targ. Ultimate does come on down, but they're not able to get enough damage. Now the question becomes, can Talon actually survive the ensuing fight? Hanabi onto a flank. The flash forward stun finds 2 members, but the bullet time rains through and is able to find the target. Kaiwing gets taken down. Unified is trying to kite back for his life. Is able to get the exhaust. The rend is there, but it isn't enough damage. And Talon forcing these fights they don't need to. And once again, AHQ were able to walk away victorious.
Nicely done coming from AHQ, and it's all about that patience. They never pull the trigger on either the Emperor's Divide nor the bullet time unless the Carrick ult drops from Talon first.
I have a bad feeling here for Waco. Is he actually going to be able to survive? Oh, Candy decides to just take down the Azir instead. Almost able to take down both members, but Kanye comes on over to help out, and for that, AHQ were able to trade 1-for-1. But let's take another look here toward the Cloud Drake, as it's just taken down too fast here on the side of AHQ.
Isera did a good job distracting the rest of Talon, and they invested so much on that invulnerability to remove the support. And at that point, you still have plenty of damage coming through, and at the cleanse being in, and unfortunately the pillar is not enough to deny any sort of that bullet time. It took 3 waves was enough for Wacko to make a huge impact, so it has to be the first moment you see that bullet time, then you gotta interrupt it the first time.
And unfortunately too, because of the build path from Unified, he's much more of a on-hit style build. Unfortunately, his Ren stacks aren't going to be doing massive amounts of damage. He's just there to try and shred away the frontline tanks that are on the side of AHQ. He's not going into this crypto. He does have a little bit more lifesteal now this time around, though. So maybe that'll keep him alive. But unfortunately for Talon, the game has started to equal out, and AHQ is starting to come online, and it's starting to look a little bit scary here as we're just past that 30-minute mark.
And we haven't really seen a big of an impact just yet coming from Candy, despite having Rabadon's Void Staff already completed, all invested to make the Zoe a glass cannon, make sure to burst someone down, and especially that Apex does have built Banshee, so it makes it even harder.
Candy almost gets caught out, does go back to his portal though. You can see AHQ though still positioning possibly for an aggressive stance, as Kongyu does have his GA available. Inside track goes over to AHQ as they do have that mini wave, and Waka's just going to escort it. Hanabi can't really go too far forward or else he'll be taken down here. He's not careful. Actually, he gets the 1v1 on Waco, pops the World Ender, and he's able to take down Misfortune immediately. Candy able to survive, gets himself back to safety. Kongyu is going to get taken on down, and it's a mixed fight on both sides of the map. Because now Ysera trying to take up as much damage. Kongya, though, able to find the kill. Civ able to flash forward. Apex finds the Shurima Shuffle instead. And both the squads are able to find picks, but Talon come out the losers as they lose an extra member.
What is happening? There were 2 fights at the same time for Talon and AHQ. One was the short 1v1 between Hanabi and Wako. They had it, but unfortunately, Candy was also quite low at that time, and that is just quite unfortunate. That was the start that Talon was looking for.
Yeah, they're able to get on top of the misfortune. I think at this point, I think Candy just needs to leave. Candy wants to try and help out on the fight more, but I don't even understand why he's trying to go for this. Gongya's just going to be able to, yeah, that's just a beautiful play from Gongya.
And getting another kill. And unfortunately, all this time, Apex survived while the rest of the other carries coming from Talon were still stuck in that jungle. And they had to, you know, maneuver between that tower, you know, getting erected coming from Apex here in the mid lane. So it was kind of hard to decide whether or not you want to circle around or go in the middle and see how you can position from there. So still, pretty good job coming from Ziv and Kongya to zone out the important carries out of the important fight, where Hanabi was just stuck all alone.
Yeah, unfortunately, Hanabi, it looked like also Unified took Kaiwing away from the mid lane fight, so the Tara couldn't provide any more support or stuns. Let's see here, though. Talon, are they even going to try and contest for this Cloud Drake, or will they use that opportunity to try and rush down the Baron if AHQ do not respect them? Cloud Drake up in 10 seconds. We see Talon already trying to position for it. Apex gets tagged there by the Palstar, is going to lose his Banshees. Talon are going to try and start this. They're on top of a ward. They know on the side of AHQ that they can see this. It does finally go down. 10,000 health onto the Baron. Candy going fishing. Able to find Civ at least with the bubble, but still not enough. Kongya over towards the side. 5,000 health onto the Baron. Goes on in, trying to look for the kick. And gets a massive Wando combo with the assistance of Civ as they take down Candy. In comes the bullet time, and the damage rains through. They're able to survive. Unified, though, does finally get taken out by Apex. Hanabi trying to do what he can, but unfortunately, Talon, your time is up when it comes to this game as AHQ just have the better team fight.
What a wild turn of events here. And you're right, it is the better team fight, and it is reminiscent of what we've seen before in the very first game of the BO5, where it is AHQ that won the AoE, and unfortunately Talon had managed to run out of time, and it all went haywire during their fight earlier during that Baron.
And Emperor's Divide there might be enough actually to close this one out. River falls, the ace is there for AHQ. And this best of 5, well, it wouldn't feel right if it went to a 3-0. Instead, we're going to go ahead and get tied up 1-1 as AHQ are able to tie up the series.
HQ feeling really, really good after that victory. And with that, even subbing in, again, Apex for the very first time in the PCS in general. So with that said, his Emperor's Divides have been really key to just keep, you know, the carry safe and as well as Apex safe. And with that, Hanabi had a hard time trying to stick towards the important members coming from HQ.
Yeah, and for Apex, his first showing of the season, looking pretty good here. It's kind of been now for HQ. They've always had this mid laner available. They've always just opted for Uniboy, I guess, with the synergy of Kongya. But Apex played a very clean Azir game, and I feel like if neither team is able to get the Azir, I think it just gets banned out here now when we come into the next set of games.
Yeah, I have a feeling too, because it has, you know, you are against HQ, you are in a game where it's AHQ versus Talon. You know that these games are going to be stretched out to the maximum when it comes to like game times, and that will be enough for an Azir to just spike through and create a huge impact in fights.
And you can see there, Pillar was used very early during that fight. You can tell that River was trying to bank on the fact that maybe Vega would pull the trigger very early, but again, he's able to just wait out the Tarek ultimate, and poor Hanabi, he's trying to do his best, but it's already too late.
Yeah, even managed to finish at least his death stance already, but you aren't as strong when it's a, you know, 2v5 situation, as AHQ has managed to be very patient in that game despite, you know, Talon being everywhere at the first 10 minutes for 15 minutes, and even getting 2 of the Rift Heralds. They were just very patient with their win conditions, and they've managed to succeed.
like that. It's 1-1. As unfortunately for Talon, time just ran out when it came to their composition, and unfortunately they needed to play more around Candy on the Zoe to try and find picks where they could and maybe get some burst damage, but other than that, unfortunately it just doesn't go on through. And I gotta say, MVP, I feel like I know who it's gonna be. Is it 100% MVP rate when it comes to Apex? It will be, as he picks up the award on the Azir, 8-1 and 7. 83% kill participation.
First game, debut game for the PCS, getting that MVP title. And it's not in the regular season, it's during the playoffs in the middle of this best of 5 series. So this is an incredible feat coming from Apex. And with that said, you're right, it's more of how he played the lane against, Candy, and how he managed to just keep his fellow carries safe in the game earlier.
Yeah, so now for Talon, I wonder what Big Fafa has up his sleeve. You said there was some secrets that they didn't want to tell just yet. I understand how powerful Trundle is when it comes to like the early game, but I'm still not sold on the Trundle pickups that we've been seeing here in the PCS, especially when it comes to playoffs. I like that River was being aggressive, but when it came to the late game, it was just almost a little bit too niche. And I think the target selection from Talon needs to shape up, especially as we now head into our third game. And that's going to be coming up here after a quick break. When we come back, game 3, and we'll see who's able to take the hammer heading into game 4.